I wasn't aware that you have a parliamentarian and meeting and we have to vote.
Okay, so anything that is, and this is not about making an issue, this is about the clarity. Anything that happens with this board, whether it's bringing the presenter, whether it's having a parliamentarian, needs to come before the board as a whole. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm a little confused as to why it didn't happen. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Because the agenda that I have, and I can show it to you, doesn't say that we're having a professional parliamentarian here. Are we having a class? Are we about to talk something? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Because I don't want to assume anything, but I always want to know what it is. So that's why I'm asking.
Just simply says I'm sorry. I heard you clearly, and another person heard you clearly. And for this day forward, so make sure this takes place. But if there is no objection, I would gladly maintain the time. But if there is an objection, I would gladly dismiss myself. And the agenda, if you have permitted, you said this one is not permitted. One. Yes. And this
Yes, and then
So I do see your name on the agenda that was sent out in the board packet. However, it was not to trustee Rutherford's or Secretary Rutherford's point. It was not discussed that you would be joining us today. So not that we're not happy to have you here, but going forward, I think it would be appropriate to have that discussion if you don't have someone else leading the other one.
what y'all taking? And the president. So now we will move forward. Let's move back to the objection. Is there anything on the agenda that you have a problem with? If there is, we will move forward and approve the agenda as printed. Hearing no comments, the agenda is approved as printed. Approval of March 24th, 2022 minutes. 1 second.
I'm here for one, two, last year. Trustee Watson.
Yes.
Trustee Allen. No, for on the class.
Are there minutes from the April, March, and 4th meetings?
April 7th.
Yes. Well, there's always the right. March, April, and that's what we did that first. So.
One more, I asked for something to be on the agenda, so in an email, and it's not here.
Wait, just a moment. The question is, do you have the minutes?
Ma'am, the question is, no, I do not. The minutes are already in the package.
Well, if they're in the packet, and you look at the minutes in the package, March 24th, are there any corrections? Any no corrections? If there is no objection, the minutes are approved as printed. We move on. April 7th, special meeting minutes. They're in the package. I'm sure you read them already and checked and verified. Are there any corrections? Yes. Trustee Smith.
I have a question. I don't know if it's a correction, but there was an item, not in April 7th, sorry, it was in March 24th minutes.
Say, tell us what page you're talking about. In the April 7th minutes.
So I don't have an issue with the April 7th minutes, but I do have a question regarding that. Can I ask a question, or is it just for objections on corrections on?
The question is, repeat that little hour, please.
So I don't have a correction to the April 7th meeting, or minutes, but I do have a question in regards to the minutes, because there was something listed in the March 24th minutes that was supposed to have transpired before this meeting that never happened. So if there's something listed in the minutes that was supposed to have happened before this meeting, at which point do we discuss that?
Well, what happens is, in the minutes, it's listed. It was incomplete, it was not done.
Right, the minutes were correct, but the action was not taken.
So that's called unfinished business.
Okay.
So we need to bring that back up again today under unfinished business.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Yes, so just so that I can clarify, what's the items that we have listed, that's what she wrote. Pardon, sorry, pardon. She said there's an issue of the item that's not, that doesn't mean correct.
She's saying that it's in there, but the action was not taken.
Right, so my question is, don't we have to put that on the agenda under unfinished? I make a motion to put it under,
Based on the agenda, it's not in order to, based on the agenda, we must say.
okay, so I want to make the motion that was, can you tell me exactly 5 minutes?
You know what you wish to,
I think I do, but I want to
what
make sure.
page is that on? Let us know.
So it's on page 4 of the, it would be labeled page 4 of the March 24th minutes.
It's on page 4.
So under contract presentations, Treasurer Hatchett made a motion to table the contract presentations until the April board meeting. And so I didn't see anything about contract rescheduling or contract presentations on the next board meeting.
So I make the motion that we put, I'm gonna put the business, item for the motion that was made to, post the motion.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, and there's one other item too. So it was requested that there be a special meeting regarding the selection process. I'm trying to find it, so I'm ready to find it.
Special meeting, but we're gonna have to have a motion there.
Okay.
It was, yeah, it was, I'm just saying, these were two
You
things.
should make the motion.
Right. I'm trying to find the writing in the section. So I'd like to,
Trustee. Do you all receive these?
We do,
I read these yesterday.
so we do.
Okay, that's all.
Okay.
That's all right.
But I'm not sure at what point to bring this up, that's why.
Okay, the first suggested unfinished thing is,
So the first unfinished, so I'd like to make a motion that we add vendor contract presentations to the unfinished business portion. So we need to decide when we're gonna have them, what's it gonna look like, so there's a procedure for us.
vendor contract presentation.
Vendor contract presentations.
It's on here.
It's on here.
It's on here too.
I didn't see that. I'm missing page 1 of the agenda.
Okay,
So I'm
it's
going
on
off
there.
of-
So we're good. Okay, what else?
So the other one was,
Tell me where it is. So I can-
I'm looking it up. Okay. I know it's in here that where we asked for a additional meeting.
That section on page 7. Number 6. Yeah. Director, secretary.
Oh, on page 8.
She's reading on page 8. It's the
Okay.
12.
Thank you. I know I saw it, but I couldn't remember.
Trustee. Okay.
But there had to be nothing to especially legal, which is when you come finance. When you sign it, so you tell it.
That letter is a ABCDEF.
It's not.
It's not government as well.
It's above two.
Okay.
It's two, it's
The second is the See, Witherspoon made a motion to have the library director search and then bring their findings.
candidates, interviews
Right.
for our director position.
So it's on the agenda. So that's unfinished. Library search committee report.
And then if you go down,
Library search committee report.
if you go down to,
But there it is there.
if you go
On
down
the
to
agenda,
row,
D.
Treasurer Hatchett made a motion to make a decision at the special meeting on which candidates will become, on which candidates will become finalists. So that, I just want to acknowledge that we didn't have a special meeting, so that didn't happen.
Okay, so that say is, look at the agenda, it says there will be a report from the library search committee. So that, once we hear the report, we know what we will do next. Okay?
I just wanted to acknowledge that something was supposed to happen before this meeting, and it did not.
Let's see what happens with the report.
Okay.
Because if it hasn't happened, we'll hear the report. Okay. Yes, we will.
I don't have a meeting, so they would say that there'll be a special meeting before the next board meeting.
It says trustee. School made a motion to have the library director search committee bring their findings from the library director candidate interviews back to the board in the special meeting.
So it does not say at this particular board meeting.
It says a special.
But it says they would, but today they're reporting, and then once they give the report, then, okay. Then we will have that special meeting, because we need to know that we have candidates to hear from. I said, other than Madam Secretary.
Okay, so just so that you have clarity about what we're talking about. The reason why the whole conversation happened is because trustee Witherspoon, and we voted part of the interviewing process. I need you to know this so that, and it's on record, and I'm saying this, if you voted for her to be a part of the interviewing process, she was supported, the vote passed, that's why we asked for the special meetings, and that didn't happen as well as that, so how can we get a report? Okay.
Let's get the report. But we wait, no, I'm gonna read this again. Second paragraph. Trustee Witherspoon, veteran search committee with their findings from the library director candidate interviews back to the board in a special meeting.
when I'm saying his name, we also voted for her to be a part of those meetings, and that didn't occur. So how we hear in the presentation about the candidates, and none of the stuff that we put to, before it has occurred. You can't, if a motion is made, because you're a parliamentarian, if a motion is made and it is passed, for stuff that happened, that's why we're doing it. That's why we,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Madam President, would you please respond?
It has not been another meeting. Okay, so based on what was prior to, was what's been did on the committee, is what's being reported tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why that report is wrong, because the request was made a report. And there has not been a meeting since that initial vote was made.
We can move on. So let's, the April 7th minutes. Did we approve those? No. Were there any corrections to be made to the April 7th minutes? Hearing none, they are approved as printed. Moving on, public comment. Are there any members wishing to? Madam President, would you please review the guidelines for the public comment?
Public comments, which one is, that's, if they're doing it online, they have to make a note to it. Public issue, which Edmund, the record, will call the person's name and make up their phone.
No public. No public comments. Thank you. Moving on. Talila. First Third Bank Investment is present. Please come forward. Forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly.
That's okay.
You can go to the podium.
Oh,
Before you speak, let me just make a note so everyone will know.
Off the microphone.
I just want everyone to know that he's coming as an investment banker, but he's not able to answer any questions because we are being recorded. So any questions that you may have for him, direct them to me and I will direct them to him. Because he's not allowed to filter back to actually make any comments about that. We want to provide you with information and then we collectively meet with him. 3 board members and our accountant to review the information he has, and then we'll come back and decide whether or not that's when we'll go with the room with someone.
So if you have any questions, please make a note as the presentation unfolds. Thank you. The floor is yours.
okay. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me here tonight. My name is Khalil Amal. I'm with Fifth Third Securities. That's part of Fifth Third Bank. And I've been communicating with Madam President Richardson because we had a prior investment executive investment for Pontiac Public Library. Left the firm and went somewhere else, and it's not available to do the investment again. So here we come in, and I'm going to have to review what he did before, and then we will have a meeting, like Madam President said. We're a very heavily regulated industry, and sorry, I can't answer questions. It can't be recorded. That's why. We can talk in a meeting or a conference, but we can't be recorded because we have a very big compliance issue and legal issue with that. Like I said, we're very regulated by the government, so it's limited what we do. But I put together, I usually like to know the investment objectives, and I would like to know the profiling first before I do any recommendation, which is the logical thing to do. So I put together some scenarios and hypotheticals that I think would fit the profile of the Pontiac Public Library and make a good investment. In the meetings, then I will go into details and I will answer any questions. By the way, you can personally call me, and if you have any questions, I can answer those. There's no problem with that. But we will have another meeting with board members and to go over the details. And then, if you like what we have to offer, then we'd be honored to earn your business. And that's all I have today. I have the package for every trustee member, and Madam President, Mr. Richardson has the package, and the accountant too. So when we have a meeting, I can go over them, or we can have somebody specialized also with me to answer questions. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I love this facility, and this is a very beautiful city and very nice library.
The board that this particular investment, that's where all our money is in Fifth Third Bank. So it's internally having someone to look at the account. Because before the other person went to another bank, it was still internal. They work for Fifth Third Bank. So we're looking internally where our money is already at, as opposed to going to someplace outside for the investment. In case that's a question.
Is there anything that prevents us from doing it outside of this?
We can deal with the conversation at a later date. Yes, we should focus in on.
I think it's a pertinent question if we're looking at one investment. Or what other investment can be done.
Not a person.
What I
I said, go ahead. Wait, just a moment.
what we did before was usually look at several investment banks. And it wasn't just really that PNC. We looked at them, and we also looked at several other banking facilities in order to choose someone in order to use some bank accounts. So it's not limited to, I just simply wanted to clarify that the first person that I went back to, because I had talked with other people before, was to go internally back to Fifth Third, since that's where our money is invested. We'll have our money all in the accounts at this point in time. So yes, there are other places that can be acknowledged. This is just one place I'm looking at. And I just want to let you know that it was internal.
All right, thank you.
May I express myself?
Absolutely.
Way to go.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Investment. Financial report. Coming forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Starting first with page 10, profit and loss budget versus actual. Everyone is there. All right. So this is our profit and loss budget versus actual from July 2021 to March 2022. In terms of our property taxes, we have, excuse me. We have $694,417.16 versus the budget of $729,310.86 for the unfavorable under budget of $34,893.07. 95.2% of our total budget amount. We're under budget in grants of 25,000, and we're under budget in but that's because we get those revenues at the end of our year, and we will approve those for this fiscal year before the end of the year. And we will expect to get within the final revenue. So as it exists here, it's $92. And other income is 44,762.64 versus budgeted of 29,682.56 for a favorable over budget revenue of 15,089.76, which is 150.8% over budget for a total revenue of 739,108.80 versus budget 87,900.80 on the budget unfavorable revenue variance of 136,812.92. In terms of our overall expenses, we are 713,557.01 versus budgeted 858,289.72 for favorable under budget revenue of expenses of 144,732.71. Our under budget revenue is, expenses is primarily due to under budget in personnel costs. We have some open positions in terms of staff as well as the director's position. And we are also under budget in terms of capital expenditure. So we have a total net income today of 25,623.79 versus budgeted 17,704 for a favorable variance of 7,919.79. Questions regarding profit and loss budget versus that? Yes.
Under other, what revenue sources are?
There's revenue for fine library fines, library charges, some other just miscellaneous revenues. Services provided by the library.
Just a point of clarification.
Yes.
So for grants, we budgeted that we would receive $25,000 in grants, but we didn't submit for that. Is that what happened?
Correct.
And who usually submits for those?
The director.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Any additional questions? There are no corrections.
And moving on, the next is our balance sheet. Page 11. We have total in everybody with me. We have total $788,372.35 in our general checking and payroll account. And accounts receivable 865 for total current assets of $789,237.35. We have total fixed assets $657,503.08 for a total asset of $1,446,740.43. We have a negative balance in our accounts payable of $223.90, and that normally would be a debit balance, but that represents some credits from our vendors that we have yet to apply to future purchases. Total equity of $1,446,964.33 for total liabilities and equity of $1,446,740.43. Any questions regarding our balance sheet?
Really, what was the job on?
I still have additional.
Oh,
Item
yes, sir, yes, sir.
is, the grass that usually represents treasury report. The first one is for our income summary. It just shows graphically where the majority of all our income coming from the property taxes, 93.94%, and remaining of other sources, 6.06%. And expenses graphically shows where our expenses are, operations representing 78.88%, professional services 10.84%, debt service 5.02%, collection 4.80%, and other operating expenses 0.46%. For total expenses 713,570. That concludes my report.
There are no further questions? Item on the agenda. Vendor contract presentation. Oh. Facility solutions.
Just start by reintroducing myself because it's a new board. And I have a chance to be able to get a contractor here for 10 years. So the board has changed that. Familiar faces. Welcome myself. First, just want to just quickly introduce myself. Host Facility Solutions. Host Facilities been around since 2000. It's been here and there. This facility has been with the company as long as the company. Real big opportunities. Stand with people that manage in the building. We have one staff 6 days a week. Services, again, sure the building is clean, outside, outside, some responsibility. Maintaining the carpets, floor care, responsibilities of that. We do some of general maintenance. And some general maintenance that we are not able to fulfill. We just pass it over to the director. Try to get a better contract to fulfill. It's kind of our scope of work, but as long as we've been here, we have always done things out of our scope to fulfill the facility, make sure the facility. We always make sure the building is secure after we
So, service and continuous discussion on staff. And we do some of those around those facilities, all those purchase supplies, tissue, something good with staff and everything. I'm sure we have adequate supplies to keep the building. That's lastly, minimum contribution, both facilities have donated funds. I think it's been 10 years, so it's been a while. Probably every year since we've been here, probably except the COVID year, got off balances. Wasn't a lot of activity going on. So I wasn't changes things. So back to it. We always hope for another. Provide funds for us to maintain the building to the facility that's there. Some of the other contributions that we have to charge for this special cleanup. Company contribute impact as well as acceptance of funds. So, I don't have anything else right now, but as everyone is new, you have any questions for me?
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for coming. My question is, your work with delivering in the city of Pontiac, and my other question is, you mentioned that I know what you contribute as far as how you try to hire within the community. Is it time for us to continue to see yourself adding on new staff or getting more assistance so that we can make sure that the people of Pontiac keep the jobs in Pontiac and they stay?
As the services increase or changes, one time we did add more staff over kind of change things actually scale back. But staff is from here. It's consistent. Services.
Thank you so much.
So are you guys on call if there's any incidents that goes up or outbreak, you guys can take care of that? And then I'm looking at your contract from 2014. I don't see specific service level agreements, so that's something I would like to see. Like how, as an example, if someone were to throw up upstairs, I hate to use that example, but like how quickly could you be here? Those are the types of things that.
We try to turn around what we had before COVID. We had midday training. So we had a midday person. Incidents or accidents coming up. Right now, we just have a one-call person. Accident or incident within an hour, we try to close it back here. And we do a good job of closing everything off until that time frame. We try to come as fast as we can.
Can you give an example of like a maintenance work? You said you do some maintenance work. Can you give an example of that?
Putting in ceiling tile, eyeglass,
since I'm doing, whatever, you know, make this. We can control, it's out of our control, and we just, you know, how, as far as time.
And you said that you guys provide the toilet paper and towels and stuff like that. So that's built in the cost.
Well, yes, yes.
You have a letter of the services. It's how this. Last time, people were here.
Sorry.
Yes, downtown, where the last time, we didn't have to do, so he wasn't gonna be. So thank you for. Moving on. All right, go.
Cover. So I know what you guys. My name is Mario Ferreira from Cabrera Landscaping. I've been Pontiac for the last 20 years. I'm a resident of Tunis. I own my own business. I've been probably doing service for you guys for at least probably 10 years. Um, Basically, I cut it on. We do it as a weekly basis, you know, we clean up. Every week, you know, we pick up the papers and also we cut the grass, we do spring cleanup, fall cleanup. And also we meet this, you know, twice a week, twice a month. Um, Any other services like lunch is optional. I, uh, I try to help as much as I can, living in the community. I helped with Cinco de Mayo for a long time. And there's a lot of things that I think sometimes I do that I don't charge you guys for some things. Some branches come down in storms. Sometimes I forgot to bill it. Sometimes, honestly, every time you send me an email, I don't see it. I just try to do the best every time.
Questions? Student, help us out with, I know before you, help us when you purchase plants, that you're giving a charge for planting the flowers for.
Yes, every year. Yeah.
Are your employees residents of
Yes, most of them.
your residents?
Yes.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Move on. Online or so?
Mr. Webb. Paul Webb.
Plan. Everybody should have their strategic. Not really go over it and have any comments. As we move forward, that we know that the board agreed that everyone was this for them. So we know that unless we have a special meeting, everyone. It's gonna take longer than 30 minutes or 15 minutes to talk about it. That everybody will look at it and look at what. If there's something on this, let's see if you have anything to add for the finance, like public library. Any comments on it?
that was presented to you?
So I think our plan is great, and it was facilitated by a third party, or outside party, to help them pull that together. So it's not a easy undertaking to create a strategic plan that's completely comprehensive. And also take the community's input into consideration. So I think that we need to look at or get proposals to see what other parties company would do for us to help us get through this process.
So, you think. So if you think something, we need to create a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion that
I like to
move. So I would like to move that we get proposals from third party companies that can help us, that will actually walk us through creating this.
make the strategic plan.
Related to the strategic.
I second, I'm sorry.
The word is removed and second. The proposal for third party to come forward with plans for closing the discussion. I just want to be sure. Repeat that, please.
So I think the first step would be to find companies and understand what their strategies or what their offerings are to walk us through a strategic plan. So if that's done through an RFP process, or if one of us wants to find companies, but we do need to take that first step and get into proposals.
So we find companies to walk us through
Or understand.
library strategic plans. I'm just trying to get it clear because if I said wrong and you said different, that means you said the same thing.
So let me amend my motion. So my motion was to find companies
Okay.
that can help us to or facilitate the strategic plan process.
Yes, I do.
Okay, now we can discuss. Come on, find somebody who wants to put out RFP because it seems to me that when someone finds somebody, because of questions, so we would be better stated if we put out an RFP to see who's available in order to do it. I just want to clear it because I don't want to go and talk to people and then say, well, you didn't put RFP out. So I'm just thinking that would be better clear. So we want to be.
So we're going to amend the motion.
So it's stated by the chair. State, if there is no objection, we have a motion to draw.
Sure.
Now, you're welcome to do.
Melanie.
I make the motion that we issue out of define some a strategic planner to help us with the strategic planning of the kind of that library. I think it's vital and important, and we need to have our eyes other than ourselves. I would actually issue an RFP. Issue an RFP. Yes.
This is
A strategic planner
right.
for the strategic planning of the Pontiac.
Is there a second? Second. Issue.
from what the point is, that is how it's look at actually. Yes, because I want to make sure we do it right first. So who was submitted? So, you know, what is it called? I want to, the reason why I'm saying this, because I don't want this to be a dead duck on the water. It's a consultant firm. Got it. Hold on, let me change. Let me take back my motion. Amend my motion
That's not adding,
by adding to hire a consultant firm to help. I make a motion was to issue an RFP to hire a consultant firm to help with the strategic planning of how to cut it like that. That's not. Some firm that's strategic planning. And then do that.
So I looked back and said, I still feel like
let's see, so we also got to support because she wants.
oh, I'm sorry.
But we're getting off. We can just focus on both of them. Go there, because it's.
Okay, let me,
I'm taking shorthand.
I'm sorry. Let me, rescind, I don't wanna, when we are trying to accomplish now, parliamentary, which I'm glad you're for this moment, and all moments including, is the, if we're gonna, how to do it the right way to issue out RFP for either a consulting firm to help with the strategic plan, so we don't know the right wording of what we have.
We're gonna hire somebody, to hire somebody.
No.
We're gonna hire somebody, they'll send out your RFP, and then we're gonna hire a consultant firm. So you're gonna pay the RFP person and the consultant.
Well,
I'm not gonna be speaking, but y'all rich, I know.
no, what we're trying to do is get, it's like in this, okay, so just so you understand where I'm coming from. On the city council, we have people that we hire to help with the strategic planning, for the city. Ours is Vern, they never say Vern's last name. Trustees. And he comes up with a 5-year, 10-year projection plan on how to improve with the different areas of the library. We don't have that on staff here at the public library. So we need to find a way to find a strategic planner to help make our plans for the library. We don't have, so like in 2014, I believe they wanted to do, they did a millage. Am I correct, Madam Chair? Did y'all do a millage? 15, excuse me, I got the year wrong. But what I'm saying is, we got the millage. What was the plan? There was no, I just want to have I would like to have a third party come help us build our strategic plan. So that's why I want to issue a pilot. I don't know how to, so maybe Vice Chair can say it better for me. Or
Well,
whatever.
I guess what I was going to say during discussion. We're there in so I guess what I would say, as far as discussion is concerned, I think first we need to establish a committee, a strategic planning committee that can pick or set up or, facilitate the RFP and finding the consultants that, does that make sense? What I'm saying?
When we talked about having a strategic planning committee before, it was stated that everybody on the board would be fiscal.
Okay, that's fine.
And so
That's fine, but then I guess then we need a strategic plan meeting.
Okay, so we have it already. So all we need is a meeting.
Yes.
Okay, now, that's what we need. We need a motion to have a meeting for the library strategic planning, so you can define this and bring it back to the next meeting. Yes. Madam President.
No, I'm asking to say it, but there's nothing, what I wanted this council to hear. I was trying to acknowledge that you had something to say.
I heard what you said. She said.
I don't want, that's not what I was, listen, I am, so, Ms. Parliamentarian, excuse me, I wasn't shaking my head at you, I was saying you needed to speak, I wasn't trying to speak, I was acknowledging that your hand was up. It's different.
You hit the nail on the head, Madam President. We have the committee. We just need to meet.
it means that we have to have a special meeting.
But I was about to ask you for the hand. Go ahead.
So can you set for special meeting within how long? For this strategic plan, special meeting. That's all we need. We move on, we need a vote, we don't need anything, we need the act.
I feel like we should do a special meeting, then we can move forward with everything.
Okay, excellent. What time do you meet?
So it needs to be not on Tuesday because I serve on the
Okay,
council. And it needs to not be on Wednesday because I'm vice president of the house.
that's the Thursday or Monday.
Yes, Thursday.
All right. Are you available Monday or Thursday? Yes. Are you available Monday or Thursday? Are you available Monday or Thursday, Madam President? Thursday. What about you? Monday. Okay, Thursday. Monday. You available Monday? Oh, if there's no objection, we will pass. Use your calendar. You talk. You accept this up.
Good night. Good night.
I will be back for daughter's graduation. I might see it.
Okay, so the next Monday. What is that? May 15th, 16th, May 15th, May 15th, May 16th, 16th. Hearing no objection. The Library Strategic Planning Committee will meet May 16th. Special. Thank you very much. Special meeting. And correct. Special. meeting. Any time, 5:30. 5:30. 5:30. All the people, 5:30. All the posts. 5:30 we shall be. Enjoy. Let's go to Friends of the Library. Now we have friends. Yeah, you are a trip.
My girl, I don't care what people do.
You know. Who's in that report? Oh,
Okay, so I would like to start the Friends of the Library Committee. And I would like to figure out, I guess, how do we go about picking the Friends of the Library? And is it, yes, we do want to establish Friends of the Library. How do we go about picking these?
Well, they're in our community.
Exactly.
That's exact.
Yes. But are we obligated, each one of us will need to put some?
No.
Okay, let's see over here. Now, that's it.
No, I don't, that's not how it goes. The Friends of the Library is a volunteer organization that we started out. So we don't pick anybody. What we do is we send out communications, we will meet and greet, and then we'll see who were interested in actually starting, reestablishing the Friends of the Library. We had it before it became the fund. So we have to try to go about doing that. Would that be right, Madam Chair? Okay.
So we have, so I guess we have copies of previously organized Friends of the Library. Who's the secretary?
What's the question?
The Friends of the Library.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we've had them before.
Yeah.
Activities, programs, invite the community in for their support. A flyer, something really classy.
In addition to that, there are several workshops and conferences in the area. That anyone else that would be interested in to put the information up there would be able to attend. And it's a number of things, so you You know, they can go and get some understanding about that. Plus, you can go, any board member can go to the website and you can figure it out there. And it'll tell you when they need locally, and the kind of things that they need. And if necessary, you know, get someone from Rochester or Columbus, from 2000. So we can have that.
So can we put a timeline in?
Yes, board meeting.
Well, that have to be the bid, right?
I'm gonna plan it first.
Like, that's what I'm saying, like the planning.
Right. But I think the committee of the new borough needs to be room. We have another meeting.
No, it's maybe gonna be 3 people, or less, and we won't even have.
So is there anyone else?
One, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Y'all do, but I ain't saying that. That's what I said. I'm saying.
You don't talk to me.
She said 3. I just want to say, because I'm only at 3. Okay. Oh, so. With me, I know that I'm not doing that, y'all. I got some money though. That's what I'm saying. So that's why, that was my question. I could do. Still have to talk. I could check. That's what I could do.
And vice versa. You have to set a date, but I think you communicate with them and figure out what's best, what works. Teamwork is dream work, you gotta move on. Library board search. Report.
As you said, that Ms. Atkins said that she's not able to accomplish. Somebody will be able to do it.
So we'll bring this back to the next meeting. Yes. We'll bring this back to the next meeting under policies, yes, second.
I don't think we can afford to wait over with the search. I'm not sure what's happening, but I mean, for the search committee report, we can't afford to wait a whole month to understand what's happening.
The committee of one.
No, it's weird. But as I stated before, they did not on my report, so she agreed to summarize what happened prior to the last meeting that we had. Just to summarize. And but there was an RFP that was requested, that was done. So that information is available. That's right. To initially serve as on the search committee, so yes, we can have talks. So that's part of what you're running for.
Okay, maybe I'm holding something in my hand that's in my packet. It's John Kelsey, associate, who is issued out an executive search proposal. You y'all not see that? In here, and so since that's page 1 of 12, and so since this in the packet, is this an action? I'm a little confused if it's an action. If I can make a motion, should I just read the whole presentation? The pages, I just want to know if you don't have you don't have a library board social media, so this is in fact that we supposed to vote on this tonight. I just want to know what's the purpose of the doing.
And so what we want to do is what that's been summarized. And so are we choosing to wait until our next meeting?
But so, Madam President, if I can make you understand, not trying to say it the wrong way. I'm saying that this is an executive search proposal to the company that's really, if we pay them to go search and find us the right candidate. So could we ask for this to be an action item so we can vote to enter into this agreement?
The report has to offer all that. We need to know what was decided. It's on the treasurer. Then we can move.
Okay, it's just at some point,
Move.
yes, it's just like our budget year in the council starts Monday, Sunday. We have to start getting stuff together. If we didn't have a new mayor, we would have to go find it or have somebody help us or whatever it may be. So this is a company that's willing to do it. So that's why I was asking why was it in the report, because it's not on the agenda.
She's gonna share that there's a total of 3 companies to do search. Okay, and I have the other 2. Start talking, and I didn't get a chance to send them to them, but I can forward them to everybody. There's a total of 3. And we want to call a special meeting to look at those 3 and decide what we want to do. There's a total of 3 of them, it's not just.
Okay, that's why I thought it was.
No, it's not, there's a total of 3.
Okay, that's why I asked.
One is local, one is out of Ohio, and they just finished the research for the library garden for Enoch. They finished that, and then there's one other company. That's submits, and it's like I said, there's one, a local search and find. That have done that. Okay, so you have 3, I told you 3.
The work has been done.
Yeah.
So all we need to do is communication.
And I just want to say this.
Thank you, let's leave it here. So, no action to be taken, we'll be patient. Also with hourly billing rate increase. That's that report. The report you're passing on that.
There's a letter. It's page 14. It's right after the management.
Oh, Foster School.
Based on the report. What are our plans? All right, Madam Secretary,
I want to make a motion.
would you like to make a motion?
That we enter into this agreement to get, it needs to be decided because, as I said, in the letter, in the second paragraph, is that for 3 years,
Are you talking loud enough?
I'm sorry. This is about, public sector clients and, this is probably correct. Periodically, we are getting rates for our clients due to the increase of business experiences. We have found it necessary to adjust our hourly billing rate. You have this company account, Madison, Secretary for clarity before I make the motion. How long have you been in relationship with this company? 2003. So they've been diligent with us on making a motion that we enter into this 5% increase. I believe, am I saying that right?
That's what he's requesting, 5% increase.
That's what you requested, correct?
That's what she's.
That's what, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say.
That's good.
So I make the motion that we enter into agreement for the 5% increase, so we can continue our working relationship with Foster.
We're moving that we increase the officer's hourly billing rate.
At 5%, yes.
Just a point of clarification. We don't know that it's a 5% increase. It's saying after the initial increase, it would not increase any more than 5% per year. So I'm not sure. So I agree that we should approve this, but I'm not sure how big of an increase this is. It says after 2022, there will be a yearly hourly rate increase of not more than 5%, unless otherwise. that's what's written in here, so. So it's a not a 5% increase. It's
I
just-
read you.
Yeah.
But we can give the 5%, but next year it's gonna be 5 more percent.
That's what this is saying.
So we have a problem with this. That's why their second is good, not the other. We need to get that cleared up first. A yearly, so, okay, 22, 5%, 23, 5%, 24, 5%.
Okay, so here's the backlash, like, I'm pro people having a job, I'm pro people having, their benefits. And what can happen is they can say, well, since you guys don't want to agree to this, we no longer want to have a relationship, if you're not doing it, that puts our employees at risk. So do we put our employees at risk, or do we ask for a point of clarity and do that? Because what I don't want to happen is that our employees are not covered because they're the backbone. So,
That needs to help that 5% increase per year. Because that'll be 100%.
So the last time this is into the continuation. So this came up before. I'd asked what the current bill rate is. So I don't know what the current bill rate is. We're being asked to increase it to $2.25 per hour. Which doesn't seem unreasonable, but I don't know what we're paying currently. So I'd ask the question and I didn't answer it.
I think we need to take this back to the drawing board and meet with this company and get some clarification because this is very serious, don't you think?
Oh, very much so.
so,
It's yes, Madam President.
First of all, so either two represents the library too, as far as the personnel, that's different. So she represents library questions, but she does not represent the staff doing the staff or the board per se, because her law firm does not represent. But I would suggest that, what was said is to change the motion. Okay, to reflect 1 year until further, that just might be it. 1 year, 5%. Until further conversation occurs can be made, so that you don't feel as though you don't have a contract in place, so that 5%. And you negotiate or have additional conversation, move forward for the future.
So I guess I would say it would not be beneficial for her to come and present her, present to us what she's asking for. So we know, we get clarification on what exactly she's asking for. Because I mean, this letter is so maybe,
Your point is well taken, you hear what she's saying?
so, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Then we can go from there and then we can decide. And then we can also tell her when this is what we're going to do.
Like you want clarity and projection.
So like this is not a continuing thing of 5% every year.
Now, do we have a timeline?
That's why I'm saying that perhaps take out, remove that motion, restate a motion that indicates, since this letter was from last year, that we would agree to the timeline for 5% for the fiscal year. Okay, and then there will be further negotiation or clarification regarding any additional increases after the fiscal year.
Now take it.
So I agree with Madam Chair. However, we do not know that it's 5% for the fiscal year because she didn't state what the percentage increase is for this year. It just says we're going up to $2.25 per hour. It doesn't say from what and what percentage that is.
It doesn't even say either. Who will benefit from this 5% increase?
Well, they will, because it's their hourly rate.
Was she always employees?
With the firm or
Defer.
See, it's cloudy. It's cloudy. Yes, Madam President.
Edmund, you have the about the hourly rate that we paid before.
So there's the financial secretary.
You know, I don't have their contract. These are professional legal services, and firms have rates for their staff that they bill out these services. There's not a defined set of services that they provide on an ongoing basis, period. So when an issue comes up, a legal issue comes up and gets referred to the firm, they'll provide counsel on that issue at a rate that has been established. And so they're saying, they're giving you that we're going to increase our rates, period. And so it's up to this board to decide whether or not we'll continue a relationship with this firm, given an increase in their hourly rate. But there's no defined set of services that they're contracting to provide for. It's just a legal representation that they are referred legal issues that they will investigate and then provide counsel at established hourly rates.
Now we gotta read this again. Policies with hourly rate, billing rate increase. This means per hour.
Correct. And so they bill services at an hourly rate, but the services are not predefined. They're legal services based on legal issues that arise by the library at any given time throughout the year. And they will be referred to requests.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're currently using them in a lawsuit. Are we not? Is this not the
No.
same? Okay, no, I thought, okay. So I thought, that's why I wanted to make sure we say the law firm that we use.
And I'm clarifying that if you go over there,
There's a,
there,
I would just like to see itemized report as what we spent over the past years. How much have we spent in a year? Who has that on record? What do we spend in a year for this time? And at 5%, even it's not bad, $2.25 to $11 more per hour. However, we just need to know how many hours they do work and how much work they do for us. It's not a bad thing. However, we just need to know how much we spend.
yes.
it's going to vary. And as I was saying, about to tell you is that this particular law firm deals with the issue that we might need some clarification. Okay. Matthew Derby in terms of employees on the board. Okay, for labor is the person we use. Okay. Okay, so this is example. When you need clarification on whether or not to proceed with the bill, that's when you got your big.
Got it.
Okay, so that had nothing to do with.
Got
the
it.
bill.
Got it.
Okay.
So now that you said that, I think we need to itemize this, but we also need to make sure that we do it in a timely fashion. Because this law firm say this in sued, by telling us we could not, I'm just telling you what happened. We could not, is this not the one, about the bill? I'm trying to make sure this the lady we can't do the decision of the judge. Okay, I forgot. Disregard.
See, this is serious.
No, it is, so that's why I said, so it's not beneficial for her to just come.
She's in random.
I think we need to. Because we can bring them in.
No,
Okay, so-
yeah, for her to present. Right. And just to clarify, so all the questions will answer. all the
With
questions.
documentation for you to have copies. Because we don't have anything.
If board will allow me to have conversation with her, think I have that on the report. And get all the paperwork sent to you so that you can have it. And any question that, the question you ask for right now, I think within the next week and a half, we can have a response back and make a decision from there. And we have our next board meeting, and we can go on that. Or we have a special meeting on the 16th. We can add that to the agenda. and vote on it. Okay.
I think that this is good decision making. It sounds, when we heard every year an increase of 5%. That's our,
Up to 5%. So if you, I mean, do we need a motion for them? Because I want to come back and say that I wouldn't have a conversation and the board wanted to say something with this.
you don't make it.
I'm sorry. I move.
Into conversation. Great. For software, for software.
And I said, okay, this is our second. So we have a motion that. That's it. That's a discussion. Cost to slip irony building rate.
And
Contact trustees, members of the board, on the 16th.
Oh, on the 16th, I'm sorry, special meeting. That was added to the agenda on the 16th special meeting. Now, apologize.
Okay.
Roll call.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Majority rule. Okay. Moving on to number 10. Is it really new business? We have one item. 2022-2023 library budget. First read.
in June.
All right, great. So first, I just like to give you an overview of what this budgeting process entails. We have before you the first draft of the budget, proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23. So
That's it.
right. And recognize the brevity of the accounts there. Just give you a little history on this format and presentation, that the state monitors our performance of our library from a budget versus actual performance. And it gives us the flexibility of having summary account to for our budget submission to the state. And this is the format that gives us, based on state guidelines, the most flexibility in terms of how we categorize our revenues and expenses, so that we aren't held accountable to large fluctuations and variances between accounts when we are experiencing throughout the year. We do have a lot more detailed accounts, and through our budget process, there's a lot more detailed accounts that we use to forecast our activity in arriving at the summary account total. And we do that in preparation to present this particular budget. Now, right now, see that we have a total income of $1,018,315 and total expense of $1,182,916.49 for a projected deficit of $164,601.49. In doing our budget, we had a preliminary meeting with the interim director, myself, and we looked at the trends in terms of the last several years of our actual spending by account for the last several years, 3 years in fact. And then we go account by account basis, looking at what we project the needs for the library to be going forward for this budget year. We also had research with various officials to come up with the projected revenue number. We made contact with the state of Michigan for revenues associated with Michigan State Aid. We contacted the Oakland County Treasurer as well as the Treasurer for the City of Pontiac for property tax projected revenues, and also the Library of Michigan for state for E-rate, which is reimbursement for internet services revenue. And we also contacted the state for penal fine revenues, which comprises all the revenues that we projected for this upcoming fiscal year. In terms of the expenses, starting with debt service, that expense represents expenses associated with the financing that was undertaken by the library for the shelving that's currently up in the library. We had financing for the HVAC system, but that debt service will conclude at the end of this fiscal year, June. So we should not be carrying forward any debt service related expense after this month of June. And this is the only debt service that we currently have going forward, which is the 17,000. And professional services expenses, we have, of course, the legal services, professional library membership, accounting services, auditing services, and those total professional services will be checking at $106,020. Again, we look at the trend as you were discussing with the Foster Swift legal service. That's only one of two legal firms that you have engaged in, and you look at what their billings have been over the last couple of years. Just made an estimate of that trend remaining consistent. We don't know, based on this rate increase, what the utilization would be going forward. If we have more legal issues referred to them, then the amount of legal expense can go up. If we have less legal issues referred to them, the legal expense will go down. So that the current amount budgeted is just based on previous trend having that same amount of expense going forward. And we contacted our auditing services and got a projected rate for those services going forward. County is contracted over a 2-year period, so that's a fixed cost. And professional library membership cost has a variety of services included that we incur, whether it's technology, catalog services, book binding, and technology supplies. And so that's a projected amount of about 53,000 on an annual basis. But that gives us our total professional services at 109. Then we have in our operations category a variety of services as well. And furniture, fixtures, computer equipment, gas, utilities, and every service, whether it's janitorial, mowing, all these variety of services that we utilize for the operation of the library. Again, we looked at the trend based on what we've been spending in the past. We looked at what the current need is, and then we made a projection based on that analysis as to what we anticipated that cost to be going forward. One of the biggest costs in the operations is employee wages. And in that, we made an assumption of employee wages of 5%. Make sure it's a 5%. No, it was a 7% increase across the board for employee wages. And based on our discussions within the committee, we recognize that overall our cost exceeds our revenue by, of course, this deficit of 164,000. And so the committee recognizes that we either need to have additional projection of revenues or reduce our costs. And they are planning to take another look at where we can reduce those costs in terms of whether or not it's feasible to give that full 7%, whether we need to reduce it to 6 or even 5%. And we have already calculated what that difference would be if we go back on the projected increase. Those numbers are also already available. Also, there's several open positions, notwithstanding the director's open positions, but also staff open positions. And that's one of the strategies that has been discussed too, is whether or not we see a need to fill those positions. And if we do not fill those positions, that could be a saving in terms of our budget overall, because that alone could save well over $100,000 if we do not fill open positions. If we go forward, we also have in collections a $75,000 forecasted for collection. And that's mainly our budget for books and CDs and other media. Again, that's based on our past purchase experience and what we anticipate our needs for. And lastly, other operating expenses, $20,000, and that's our admin allocation. And for that, that represents basically board members, conferences, and library staff training expense. Again, there is not an itemized anticipation of what the conference costs are. We do have some conferences in mind, but this is what we project is the overall exposure for conferences and training for both board members and library staff. And as we said, this is the first reading. We do anticipate cutting some costs. One of the open items that I was to research and have yet to inform the committee on revenue was personal property tax revenue. And whether or not that would be in addition to the projected revenue that the city had given me. And I found out that we do not get an additional personal property tax revenue, that revenue was included in the projection that they had already given. So there's no room for additional revenue to offset this projected deficit at this time. Question, yes.
Okay, so in the previous years, we had grant funding. Was many of those grants continuing?
No.
Or, no, I'm asking for a visual reason I'm asking. So I just want you to know, Madam Chair, we never received any of those grants, did we?
Yes, we have.
I'm talking about the 25,000, 350,
No, not those, but there we've had grant revenue.
I understand, but I don't forget numbers, and I just know there was a huge amount of grants that was projected in the previous budget, 70,000 in the year before that. It was twice the amount, so we're basically playing catch up for money we never received, correct?
Well, I wouldn't quite categorize it like that. We did not receive those revenues as projected,
Right,
correct? But
so
we're not catching up on this.
No, I'm worried about the deficit because
Yes.
the reason why I'm saying is that there's going to be some tough choices we're going to have to make about staffing, about raises because of the $164,601.49. So I'm a clear. I try to be like forthcoming. We have some very tough decisions to make because that even though it seems like it's not a lot of money, that can affect almost half of our staff. Is that not correct? That can affect half of our staff?
Well, as I said before, we can make strategic cuts. For instance, if we choose not to fill current positions that are open, and there's no need based on the activity of the library, that in and of itself saves over $100,000 by itself. But that's if that's the choice that the library makes. There's other choices in terms of we projected the salary increase at the highest range that was recommended, and there could be lower rates as opposed to what we currently have projected. That in of itself would reduce that deficit. So it just depends. Right now, that increase that we have budgeted into this number that creates that 164,000 deficit was at the highest rate of 7%. But we did 3 scenarios: 7%, 6%, and 5%. And we just used the 7% as the starting number in terms of total projected expense for staff.
Can you give us an example? Because as I look around, I see
some questions on two faces in terms of not filling certain positions at this particular time. Give us an example of what positions you're talking about not filling at this particular time.
Okay,
Not that it becomes permanent, but at this particular time, to offset what we're talking about for the 22-23 budget.
all right.
What positions would you be
So
talking about?
there's a library assistant, circulation, technical services. That's projected at a total of $34,114.36. We have the library assistant, continued services. That's projected at $34,114.36. We have a library assistant reference. That's projected at the same $34,114.36. And we budgeted for the library director at the rate of,
Don't discuss that, because that's what you have to have. So I'm just saying, ones that you consider.
right.
That blank.
So those are the three that are currently
Are
open
those
positions.
full-time or part-time positions?
Part-time hour.
So that's what I'm saying, that we're talking about, we can't include the library director because we have to have one.
Correct.
But if you look at the other three part-time positions, and it doesn't have to be for a full fiscal year. It can be projected for part of the 6 months of the fiscal year or whatever. It can be looked at that way also, am I correct?
Correct. All of it depends on the timing. What we have projected is hiring that person from day one of the next fiscal year. If they aren't hired, of course, that's a budget savings all the way up to the date that they are. Yeah.
So I guess in that so I asked this question about the library director position, because I guess I was unclear of why the interim library director couldn't stay in the position, and I was told because of his credentials. But according to the bylaws, it says that the appropriate professional credentials, but what is the appropriate professional credentials for a library, and also
For the librarian or for the director?
for the director? Because according to the bylaws, it doesn't state what credentials they must have.
In order to request the state funding, it is required in the state of Michigan that you have a master's degree in library science or information science in order to get your funding. Okay, so you have to have a master's degree, you know. Other than that, absolutely. Look at it that way. But if you look at the state of Michigan, you'll see that you have to have a master's degree in library science or information science, which is related to library science. So you have to have a master's.
I just want to know, what was the amount budget for the director?
A salary of $85,000 plus related payroll taxes, a total of $92,939.75.
And what was the proposed raise?
There's that 7%.
7?
7%.
I was just thinking, a person making $34,000, get a $2,380 raise.
Well, this is what the raise already calculated for full-time staff. The part-time staff wasn't projected to get any increase, and they were projected all out at $15 per hour.
So they're not making
It's
any
not
more.
fair.
It's not fair. I mean, it isn't. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm sorry, I raise my hand. So,
Chair recognizes you.
we live in a day society where inflation is at an all-time high. We have got to do something different, because I understand the deficit. We might do it wrong. We might be investing. I'm just gonna say what it is. We might invest that 400. How much we got in the bank there that you got money on at one point? The 436,000. Because what what cannot happen is that people that work for the Pontiac Public Library cannot continue to just make bare minimum. That is not, I make, make $15 at McDonald's.
So what we've done in the past, which has been frowned on at times and supported at times, is that we've used our fund balance to cover the deficit. And that's what we've done, but the state frowns on if you are continually forecasting a deficit budget on a year in, year out basis. And so we did not have a deficit last year, and we've broken that trend. Yeah.
So again, it's the money. What I am worried about is we have some of the best staffers. We have for years, 4 years, been appreciated, and they're the hardest soul. I have to say it because I see them do things that anybody else at the side talking about, but they don't. So how we have to have some strategic planning, get a loan, call somebody. These staffers are not going to continue staying under these conditions. I don't care what anybody will tell you. If it's another opportunity, we have lost several staff members because they found a golden gate bridge because they can't pay in with lights, gas, and water. And that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned because whether we like it or not, we are the fiduciaries of these people's employment and livelihood. And I can't say I want to be on the record stating that we have got to do something because the deficit is one thing, making sure people got a place to stay and eat is another.
And that's why I think the committee started from the standpoint of recommending 7% as opposed to a lower of any raise at all. And now it's okay, this is where we are. What do we do going forward? Do we fund it out of our existing fund balance with sufficient funds to do that, given what I said earlier about doing that, because we have done in the past. And we view negatively, but it's there and we can do that. Or do we make cuts to have a balanced budget and sacrifice not giving out these raises, or do we actually not fill certain positions? So that's the discussions that we have yet to have, and what we anticipate going forward.
You mentioned the committee several times. Who's on the committee?
Myself, Edmund, the president, chair, and the treasurer.
So I think operations are all come together, and we cannot see what has been prioritized as priorities in what's in this number. So I would like to see what's in that number. Now, I understand this is what we need to do for state submission, but in order for me to approve the budget, I gotta see the detail. So that's one request. I want to see the detail. As far as hires go, I think that we would be remiss to hire anybody until we actually have a director in place, so he or she can do an assessment of the structure. Because I'm not even sure who does what. I haven't seen a work chart or the requested it. And where does those positions fit? And who do they report to? So I think that all the open positions besides the director, it would make sense that we would move on those positions until we actually have a director, because that's the person that's going to be doing the hiring. We hire the director, not the other positions. So that person could then determine if those roles are even still needed based on the utilization of the.
Okay, just keep in mind, until, I'm surprised that we were down to 9 positions. Until last year, I don't know how long we've been down to 9 positions. Okay, so I'm saying, based on where we are, we didn't have a deficit this year, but the year prior to that, there was a letter that was presented from the state, in which I went on the record to say, perhaps we need to table some of our spending, okay, and we didn't. But last year, because we didn't have a record in place, those revenues were reduced by $23,000. Okay, so right now, even if we have a deficit, we also have to consider that, like I said, I don't know how long we have been down to 9 employees when we start doing that. And the other thing is, as we move forward, now is the time to start looking at the millage. Because we're going to be up for a new millage. And we want to go for 2 mills instead of 1, which will support us. Then we have to get on the bandwagon now and start planning that. And we did it, we were very successful. And I got this one of the state's top consultant for villages, and our village passed very easily, so we wanted to. Now is the time to start having those crucial conversations in order when the time comes up to the next few years, is to ask for 2 and show the increase. And it's only, I think, $1 per 10,000. If you have a home and, every $10,000, your home is worth $100,000. We talk about 10.
Well, this is the first reading, and we have copies.
Yes.
Okay, and we have copies, so we'll see you next month for the second reading.
So, well, before I dismiss, so is it my understanding, Madam Chair, that I'm going to give out a detailed line-by-line budget?
If that's what the board would prefer, because there's always been a condensed version and then a long version. Okay, because like every month we have his report, it shows the actual and projected. So if you want to look at that for the second reading, if you want to do that, to look at it in advance, or you want him to have the full report out for the second reading to ask questions, then I just want to know what your pleasure is. If you want to have that in advance, or you want to have it where he's able to talk to you about each point, so we can make any corrections or additions to what's being done on the second reading.
I'd like to do this, to answer your question, just so that I have time, and we all have time to look at it, not have to do it in make a decision in a meeting. So, yes, I'd like to.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Any more
Dismiss.
business for coming forward?
Yes, I remember that. Grants. It was my understanding that, the library director wrote the grants. And now we don't have any grants on the line, in revenue, because we don't have anybody to write for them. So. That's not true. Okay, there's none projected, so somebody's writing for it.
So there,
Who's writing for them? Because that, we don't know who that person is.
And then you guys have a grant, just outside.
Okay, President.
what you say is there are at least 5 grants that can be resubmitted for this year. And pretty much, what's need to be done immediately, so there's, I can apply for 7. If someone else wants to take that, or if Edmund or Marlene want to address that, or somebody else wants to look at some of those, they will use it.
So, I know that we're not going to. She does have a job right now. I'm joining you, that's it. And now I suggest, and I'm sure that we ask her about it. She has we don't have permission for now. We have to pay for the commission to see the database of what grants are available. Maybe you can set up a meeting with her and ask her, how we get, because we are, entity, access to those grants. So like, for example, there was a grant we just got, in Parks and Rec for $90,000. And then we got another one for $500,000. And then we got another one for another $500,000. And so she's using this mechanism to be able to look at what grants are available for entities. And we don't have access to it because we're no longer connected to the city. But if she could tell us how we can actually purchase the access, because it's purchasing to have the access, I think it will help you. Even though you got grants in the past, get more grants. And because I know this other story for other entities, they've gotten grants from United Way. There are millions of grants of dollars available right now in United Way that you maybe y'all can go after. So I'm just suggesting maybe you should go to Mr. Alexander Warren Desser and ask what the product, ask what the database is so that we can have access to it. Because we would actually have to pay for it. But then
Responsible is in charge.
yes, there is.
Okay, she gets the money, she gets a little.
No, not her. We pay for access to the database. But Alexander Warren Desser could tell you what the city uses and how much the city pays for. I don't know. I don't have the itemized list. I just know we as a city pay for it because we have access to it. Like, for example, Brenda Lawrence, we just submitted almost $15 million worth of grant applications for District 1, my district, because we had access to what grants were available on the congressional level when we were able to. I don't think we've had a congressional level grant from the library in quite some time. And because this is Brenda Lawrence, who's currently our Congresswoman's last hurrah, we could actually get on board and seize this opportunity. And also, I might add, because we have Congresswoman Haley Stevens, who in our district and in 11, we can lobby them for grants specifically for the Pontiac Public Library. So that's why I was asking, not to step on your toes per se, but to tell you how we're doing. I'm sorry, we're doing it right now. I'm watching it.
So to Senator Rutherford's point, getting access to know what grants are out there, but someone has to write for it.
So we need this.
So we need a grant.
Well, we can't budget, so I get it. We need a grant writer, we need the shoe salesman, we need a janitor. Right now, we gotta balance this budget first. I'm just simply asking, because what I don't wanna happen is, as I'm giving you a real-time example, that this is the last hurrah for our Congresswoman who just gave $2 million to the Water Affordability Board, which actually affects the pipelines of Pontiac. We have a direct pipeline because I don't do I serve in this capacity. I serve on the council, and I would be more than happy to have you talk to Alexander Warren Desser, who is soliciting those grants for the city, so she can solicit grant. I know so she can write it for him, and she can point us in the right direction. I just don't want us not to miss the gravy train with all of the funding that is being readily made available to communities like ours. That's all I'm trying to do.
This is something that you investigate
Yes, sir.
and report to the president.
No problem.
But I think the library budget looks really over.
Yes.
I'm going to say this, timeline in terms of getting the expanded version of the budget.
I'm sure we can have that sent out tomorrow.
Okay, great. Okay, this is good, this is really good. Because summer is coming. And I just was thinking about summer programs in the library for children, that's a big grant. No, they pay a little something. get one of those too. Oh, you don't feel about the permanent buildings.
Thank you for doing
You do the project. Instead of permanent buildings.
that you would be able
They're all big up here. Sigmas.
Okay, all the rights and temporaries. Because they have money in their foundations and they are very generous. Sort of, and
So, the job is the biggest, Delta, branch out in the country, Detroit. They got a chance. So, I got, I think,
two foundations and we got. Okay, bylaws.
Yes,
The PPL board of trustees. No,
that's me.
okay. You have a report?
I have a recording presentation.
Okay, go. So report, the report.
So she's going to pass that.
So pass it down.
Good evening, everyone. All those people on Facebook and at home, just to give you clarity, I'm Secretary Melody Robinson.
Okay, now.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Secretary Melody Robinson, and I want to have a discussion about the bylaws, censorships, and changing some of the bylaws. The bylaws have not been updated with the Pontiac Public Library since 2014. Is that correct? 16, excuse me. And there are things that are not in place to protect the board, in my opinion, as well as to protect the employee. Some of the things is there's no ramifications if there's an issue with board leadership. There's nothing in place set on how we can have council resolution, on how we can possibly remove anyone if the board sees fit. And I think that the bylaws need to be updated and reviewed. Not because I want to remove anyone so that we get that avenue open, but so that we have the rules set in place so that each person and each party knows their role. For example, the board's only employee is the library board director. We do not handle the day-to-day functions of the library. We're here to facilitate the library on behalf of the people. And sometimes we don't do that in a clear way. And people are oftentimes offended by misunderstanding because we don't know our role. That's why the bylaws have to be updated. We need clear and precise direction on how we're going to handle the day-to-day, the functions that we have as a board in order to make the library better. Part 2, when it says about, this is page 1, let me go back to 1 first. When it says about officers, there's a line that says on the third page, trustee shall be allowed, item 4, page 3, trustee shall be allowed to attend meetings by. Y'all don't have the page right here?
We have this.
Look on the back page. Y'all don't have it, so let me read it to you. It's in your file.
Let me just say that. So what you're doing is you're giving notice that the bylaws should
Be changed.
be amended.
Amended, excuse me.
Okay. So, and this is what you wish it to be done.
No, I want to actually ask I would like to ask, when I finish, what I would like to do after I finish my presentation is to ask that we have a special meeting on revamping and revising the Pontiac Public Library bylaw. But I wanted to present the reasons why I was asking for it. And so if you look at in your book, because it's in their actual book, there's a number 4 that says trustees shall be allowed to attend meetings by electronic means. You can't do that. They outruled that. It's illegal.
Okay, but I hear where you're going. This is excellent. Okay. What you're saying is you're giving notice that the bylaw should be amended
Yes.
according to my documentation.
Yes.
And then once you give notice, someone seconds it, and then at the next meeting, you can vote
Right,
But we don't have dialogue once you get notice.
okay, I apologize, but that's what I would like to give notice about. I wanted to make a motion that that
And we give it notice.
I'm giving notice that the bylaws need to be changed and amended. And at our next meeting, that we go about making these changes. And then,
All we need is this.
and all we need is that.
It's the moving second. Notice that you give it. Bylaws must be. And you have a copy.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All in favor? All opposed? Motion adopted. We will vote on the amendments to the bylaws, amendment to the bylaws. Next item on the agenda. Chair's reports.
First thing we're going to do is regarding the buddy program. I did it was relative, it's a wonderful time. So there's, over the place, so we can support them and making sure it's all engaged and living together. And I think that's probably in the education can come in and be responsible to see the whole investment. Grandson did, so that was good. Next on the item was trustee Allen had talked about gun violence. And I scheduled for us to go to Rochester to do man action meeting. I went. It was very nice. We are now back on the road because I'm glad I was there because Pontiac was up there on the screen. And so we're now back on board. So I'm excited about that. And so the city is going to do a proclamation about looking for man action for gun violence. And we're going to have a list of events that are going to be coming up to invite the city to come participate in, so we can help Dr. Gun violence, because it's really something to be escalating in a lot of meetings. So have some signs and have some wristbands, and we'd like for us to purchase some T-shirts so that when we have our events that we can able to wear and support them. And they should just continue to serve the community with those who are interested in the library, and perhaps since their books are or things that we can put together for us to have for the community, so that the kids can know and understand. And they also, I will schedule a date, we will get together and talk about that, when they actually have the gun locks. Throw the guns together, and those for free. Have several of the Congress people, and Senate people that are going to support us and doing those things. I'm excited about that. And like I said, they've been since when we were proclamation. The city funding back on board with that. RFPs for the library director were actually issued. Requested a total of 3 search committee firms that have agreed to initially present a proposal, close proposal, and be available. And we talked about those on the 16th of May. So with that being said, the hearing will Supervisor, which hopefully we have some success of May or 1 to 5. That we will participate in that. Yeah, I told some suggestions for some activities for the kids to do. I had said a 5. That is your date. Something you could have like that, so if you guys are interested in working with the library, you could have that. I thought that would be great. And, you're prepared. So those are the items that I have to see. I have an opportunity to look at some past grants that we received. And I'd like to be able to look at those and see if we have not, with the deadline, the most people in the book of some of the programs. So the reason I have a company to take part in, excited about that and hoping that we'll
Have anything on the topic of planning for them to come to the library for something special?
summer reading. Yeah, summer reading book.
I'm just saying, see, they forgot school existed, they've been zoomed out. I'm serious. So we need to have them to come in, outside activity or something.
So we were here, and I talked with Olivia, who's a good person for Meet Up, United Way. And she said the library is already on the radar. So I reached out to her, she had reached out to everybody. But we're in place with that and have that in place for the summer.
I think that's just some of these, all the good stuff.
Yes. I believe it's starting to do 19, maybe. Summer reading. Summer reading kickoff is June 19th. The 18th, okay. The June 19th is also coming up.
It's a point of information. Like the students who before summer read who are not doing any reading, they'll learn that there's something to do. So that they won't come today, they won't know. We need to, when school is out, come to the library, we have something planned. Hot dogs, hamburgers, put some money.
And then I have my daughter donated reading rooms. I have those. Start a mini library for kids, and also my grandson has, and I work here, clean and sanitize. There's an area road that has alphabet numbers on it. Like the building.
Okay, that's all right. That's not true. Or whatever. You know, retired school teacher, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going interim director's report. Word for you, baby.
Okay, I only have a few things. I'm just going to talk about the Spring Bunny program. Yeah, it was nice. We had approximately 70 children come. Yeah, well, the children, there were adults here too, but we counted the children, approximately 70. And we also had this past Saturday our annual poetry slam, that we have in partnership with Oakland University. It was okay. It was about 25 people there. As far as the building, nothing to report on the building other than the roofing report. The roofing repairs were started, but they came the day after it rained, and so they can only do certain things, and they got to come back to complete the work. Friends of the library, I have put in your binder at the back of the binder bylaws that the previous friends adopted, and perhaps you can look at those and that'll explain. Also, there's a Friends of the Library toolkit to explain what you were saying, how to recruit members and business cards. They here, I'm going to hand them out to you. And that's it. Any questions? Yes.
It's about summer reading time.
Uh-huh.
How many kids do we typically have participating in summer reading programs? Someone asked me that.
Well, we usually break it up. There's an age group for youth and then teen. If we, it's not that many for teen, maybe about 20. And youth, 50, 60, maybe. General.
In the box. I know there was a category for the box last year.
Oh, well, there is a category for adults too. Usually it's not that many. Yes.
How many schools do we have in Pontiac? Elementary schools.
Not sure.
Find out if you flood through the information packets, so that all of that was placed in the teacher's box to announce.
We take those things to the schools and have the teachers pass those down.
They don't come and they don't know.
So that was one of my suggestions is that we need to start implementing some school liaisons.
Who probably a school is at, Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Melanie's speaking hot.
I've been to two schools. I've been to two schools to read.
Oh, that's not,
So, yeah, so I don't think it's about, I think we need some liaisons because that's the gap we're missing out and we're not communicating with the schools. We're here, and we're not communicating with the schools. We're not.
go for it.
Point well taken.
Yes. Point well taken. Thank you so much. Yes.
So, the Pontiac United Education Coalition every Monday has a meeting with all of the school, either superintendents or their direct reports or principals. So that includes charter, PSD, and private. So Bonnie has participated in some of those, but it's a great opportunity to let the leadership know, and then you follow it up with whatever is being said to the school. So to have you on the call too would be great. You can make it, but it is a great opportunity to get in front of all of those leaders because they're on the call every day. So they're all in one spot. All you gotta do is just pitch.
You know, like the teen librarian, what time does he normally come in?
Some days he's here at opening, some days he comes in now.
And I ask that question because you really don't have any teens until the summer that are there during the day. So as far as outreach, that would be something that perhaps he could do earlier in the day. Not to say he doesn't have other activities or job description that he has to do early in the day. The teens normally come in anytime after school unless it's summer. So as part of outreach, that would, it's the same thing with bonding work, you know, it's a fluctuation with adults, but with early childhood and with the teens or teens, those kids don't come until after school, so they can do outreach, you know, bringing things on board or having raffles or something to get kids engaged and coming to the library. I mean, because those numbers are extremely low. I know we've had COVID the last couple of years, but we need to do much more than what we've done in the past, and I'd like to see that happen.
So I think one thing that can help, and you guys do some of this, and perhaps we can help, because whenever I talk about events, I encourage people to go to the website or to the Facebook page and share the events that the library is having, but marketing support. I mean, to the extent that we can text out events to constituents or parents, because they have to be reminded that the event is this Saturday. And so typically when they're posted on a timeline in Facebook, they will drop down as you guys post other things. So I know you know all of this, but we gotta, increase the awareness of this marketing.
They should all that, they go person to person. You gotta get person to person. I'm serious. Facebook and TV and Zoomish. Next Thursday.
And then I would recommend it to reach out to Uncle Jerry and do an event with him here at the library and have all the people come in that way. All the kids going up, you can have people sign up during that event and give away like hamburgers and hot dogs, chips and drinks, things like that. And he'll take that message out to all of his clientele, all of his customers. In turn, you'll have like a parking lot full. And
Give it out.
yes, like you would just do hamburger, just something small, something to get them there. Uncle Jerry's Barbecues coming to the library on this day. And you'll have all the programs, sign-ups, and library cards available to some kind of activities for the adults and children. I think that'll be a huge draw. And it'll get the word out about all that activities. I give you contact numbers.
We should reach out to Phil, who does community outreach from Fifth Third Bank. They have the big mobile that comes out that has games and everything to it. Okay. We've done it before, we have a lot of giveaways for that. And that's the big thing. We have to fulfill the folk.
Sorry, who is this?
His name is Philip. From Fifth Third Bank. He's done it at the library before. Great. Yes. And also, get the game truck. Here also.
Who does that? Can you forward me this information?
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Drew.
Thank you.
Yeah, more work to do. Board committee. Comments. Board comments. We'll start, well, why don't you? Sure, comments to report.
Yes, so in our last board meeting, our special board meeting, I gave Edmund 2 books that was donated by Pontiac Library, Pontiac Public School Trustee Turvey. So she donated 2 books to the library, so I'd like to acknowledge that and thank her for doing that. This has been a good meeting. There's been some tough sections, but I think as we work through those, it helps us to work better as a team. So we get through tough conversations, I think we'll do better for it.
Volunteer one day, give me the address, and I'll be doing some things to the school. I'll even donate $100 for hot dogs. I'm not playing, we gotta get them here early, so they'll come later. Retired. Next person from the board coming.
Yes. So, yeah, just reiterating what we talked about, bringing, getting some marketing here for the children, so they don't know they can't come. So I just want to make sure we implement the community, make sure they get here, make sure they have knowledge of the school. The board meeting was great. I enjoyed being here. We had some transition. That was really good. Thank you.
Another person, you feel yours, what comments? Is there any further business to come before this body?
Thank you for coming. I appreciate your assistance and it's making it easier for us, because sometimes I feel like I got you moment. And so when we have you on, give me an opportunity to see how things go.
So this is a moment for you to go. Absolutely. You want to get out of the chair, so we can make a motion. Make a motion that I move that the parliamentarian be allowed to participate and lead the board meetings when deemed necessary without having input. You don't have a form. Oh, we made it. Thank you. Repeat that, please. I make a motion. I move that the chair be allowed to secure the parliamentarian for the board meetings when deemed necessary. Then second. You can second. Please take a minute for the secretary. Closing for discussion? Yes, ma'am. So, that's my question. What's the reason behind? What's the reason behind?
But it seems as though it's not a productive, going to be a productive meeting. That in order to have a smooth meeting, that have an opportunity to bring parliamentary. So the parliamentary direct the meeting as opposed to the chief. To reduce any kind of friction or anything, because last when we had after the meetings, it was not very good. See, so I thought that it would be useful for this time, that it was say parliamentary reduce.
Further discussion?
Will you give, yes, sir. Thank you. Will you give us advance notice, when you like to have a parliamentarian? I'm sure.
Further discussion?
Well, we have to, make a move for that to happen, or will it be able to just?
But that's what I said, during the third session, it would be my decision, I'm supposed to have you vote.
Yes.
If a board member has, thinks that it's gonna be a rather contentious meeting, can we make a recommendation? No, parliamentarian, parliamentarian be there, so it's not just, all. You can decide, but also if we feel that, hey, this topic is gonna be rather contentious, you might not feel that way, but we might feel that way, can we also have that happen?
Without having a vote.
Yeah, I mean, you're suggesting that we do it without having a vote.
I'm suggesting that you say that do the board member can add requests without having a vote.
Yes.
Call you. Suggest. Right. Okay, hearing no further discussion, now we shall vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion adopted. Yeah. Motion adopted. Is there any further business to come before this morning? Well, at this time, if there is no objection. Thank you so very much. Notice I'm very used to that.
Oh,
They're longer, right? It's smoother. Not going to something. Monday.
I'm sorry.
And guess who else to do it? Okay. Academies, you got a volunteer lady? And I go to school. Oh, I'm here to learn. I'm the program.
No, I
You got that? You got everything else going on?
Hey, do you want to close down the Zoom meeting? Because we're gonna start. Yeah, so,
Hello? Then I got it down.
Okay, all right. Okay.
You have to,